no matter what my job status is or is not, it's relying not on my circumstance, not on what is currently in my hands, but relying on God. Something I want to talk about today is trust and provision. So the entry to that, I would say, is 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 17. Teach those who are rich in this world not to be proud and not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. That's 1 Timothy 6, verse 17. So it's something that I have to remind myself often. Is just kind of how the concept of like God provides. God will provide, God brings provision to us. And so we should trust in Him for our provision and not in what we already have. And it can seem like, oh, I'm not rich, so that doesn't apply to me. But that does apply to us and applies to everyday situations. For example, it can be, sometimes I get worried about something going wrong with my job since I'm a contractor, and it's like, oh, this job market and the way like the economy is and everything's so expensive, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I would do if that happened. And it's like, okay, it's fine, I have like so and so money in my bank account, I can like survive for a couple months or whatever it is, and then I'll be fine. Or it's like, okay, well, at least I still have a job right now, so like that will provide for me. But I think I'm not supposed to strengthen myself in the assurance that I have something, even though that is good. Like, it's good to have and try to keep my job, it is good to save money and all of that. It's like, I shouldn't be worried and then say, I have this amount, so I should be fine for a little bit, or I have this job, so I should be fine for a little bit. It's, I have God, so I should be fine forever. It's no matter how much is or is not in my bank account, no matter what my job status is or is not, it's relying not on my circumstance, not on what is currently in my hands, but relying on God. And it's easier to do that when you don't have a lot, because that's really all you have to hold on to. You know, it's like, well, I got nothing, so I gotta hold on to God. But the conflict kind of comes when you have more money, when you have more and you're richer, as the verse says. It's easy to be like, all right, I'm like, I got this, I can handle it, I got it myself, but he's saying like, don't trust in that, because that's unreliable. Like, wealth, money doesn't have any allegiance to you. It comes and goes as easily, as unpredictable. But who is predictable, who is at least predictable in his faithfulness and his steadfastness and his love, is God. And so it's put your trust in a foundation that is solid. Put your trust in something and someone that will always come through and never leave you, and that is only God. And so the lesson is kind of like, whenever I get worried about losing what I have or not having enough, it's not saying as much as it's the human tendency of how I encourage people, even of like, well, look at what you already have, which is good in some sense, but it shouldn't end at, well, look, you already have this. It's like, well, you already have this, which is proof of God's faithfulness. And so you can trust that God's faithfulness will remain and get you through the rest. I think it's like the second half of that sentence. Yes, look to what God has done and not trust in what God has done, but look to what God has done to trust more in God. Look to what God has done to be an indicator of His faithfulness, and so trust in His faithfulness more, I think is a key that we have to remember. God is the source of our provision ultimately. Like, all things that we get flows down from Him, and He has different avenues through which He flows that down to us. And so your job is the resource of that. It is the channel through which He sends provision through to you. And so when we can kind of think about that and remember God as the source of all things, then it helps us to be more steadfast and faithful when things don't go as planned. You could lose a job, but He is still your provider. He will still bring provision. It might not be through the job that you had, but maybe he has another job in store for you. It might not even be through a job. He might say, hey, it's time to start that business that you've been putting off for a long time. You're gonna go start that, and that will not be your provision. It could even just be like, now you have to rely on your family to take care of you, even if our pride is like, I don't want to do that. But it's like, that is still provision, you know. And I think we have to get used to the fact that God does things for us, and sometimes it might not be ideal to the way that we want him to, but he is still providing for us. He may not be providing for us through that dream job that we want. Sometimes he will do that because he is a father that loves to give good gifts. Sometimes he will do that, but sometimes he says, I have something else in store for you, and it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a process, but trust me in that process, and I'm going to get you to where you need to be. I'm going to provide for you all throughout the while. So I think even before we're in that position where, you know, everything's taken away from us and things are broken and we're like, oh no, I have nothing to cling on to, and cling on to God, it's like remembering even in the mountaintop, even when we have things that we can rely on, we have a steady job, by the grace of God, we have money in the bank account, and it can be so easy to trust in those things. It's saying, no, it's there, but that is not what I put my faith in. It is there, but I still put my faith in God, knowing that he is the source of that. And then what that does is free you up from attachment to that thing. It frees you up from being attached to the money that you have or your investments or what it is. So if it becomes shaky, if something's going wrong, you're not now like freaked out, like, oh no, I'm gonna lose this, like I'm gonna lose this and I'm gonna be in trouble. It's like, okay, that's what I have right now, but God still provides for me, so I don't have to be worried about anything. I can lose all of it, but know that he still provides for me. So it gives you this peace and this steadfastness that worry doesn't have to shake you. Circumstances don't have to shake you, because you know that you're not basing your life off of that. You know that your provision is not based on that, but your provision is based on God. And we know through his word that he is faithful and he promises to provide for us, because if he dresses the lilies with beauty and splendor, how much more, you know, does he love us? So we can trust in that, because there's nothing that will shake God's faithfulness. There's nothing that can shake his love. There's nothing that can separate us from his love. So there isn't any recession or downturn or budget cuts or layoffs or whatever it is that can, you know, there are layoffs on God's faithfulness. Like that doesn't make any sense. It's like there's a recession in God's love. That's not a thing. You know, it will always be there. It will always be abundant. And I think the key though is to trust in that, and trust that even though his faithfulness doesn't always look the way that we want it to, it is still there. Even when the provision he's providing for us isn't through the means that we would want it to be, he is still providing for us. So I think that is just two keys that we should have. It's trusting in God as a source, but then also knowing that he doesn't always do it the way we want to, because he has a greater plan at play. He has a greater story that he's writing with everybody in this world. So we might look at our own story and be like, I want it to be this way, but he's doing something greater than that in this world. So we have to respect that and understand that. Otherwise we will just be hurt again and again. So it's trusting in his faithfulness and trusting in his will. That's what that is ultimately. Trusting in his wisdom and his will of what he wants to do, and knowing that where he places you is where he wants you to be and where he will provide for you in that season in that way. So yeah, that's a key aspect in trusting God, and God as our provider is knowing that he provides for us even if it doesn't look like the way we want provision to look like. You know, so we won't always have that dream job. We won't always win the lottery, which is a trap, but he finds his ways, and he finds a way to reach us and a way to provide for us. So I think trusting in that, but also knowing that, yes, we should go to him with the things that we want. We should go to him with, hey, I really want this. I really want this to be the way you provide for me in this sense. I really want you to bless my business and help it to prosper and have that be the way you provide for me. You know, I really want to have this specific career and have that be the way you provide for me. Like, he wants to hear that, and he wants to know our heart for these things, and he wants to provide for us in those ways. But I think we should not forget that even if he doesn't give us that, that doesn't mean he's not providing. He's still providing for what we need, but just in a different way. And also, I just want to say, I find it kind of encouraging when it says here that their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyments. And it's so easy to be like, okay, like God gives us what we need, like what if we have food and clothing, let us be content. But this also says like he gives us what we need for enjoyment as well, depending on the season. But I was like, okay, great. So yeah, he takes that into account. He knows that we're not just like as much as we need to be content with having our basic needs met, he still wants to give us things for us to enjoy. So I was like, okay, great, wonderful, I can go on vacation, depending on the season. But yeah, hopefully that encouraged you. Hopefully that made some sense of what it means to trust in God and not trust in riches. Doesn't mean don't have money. I mean, the verses does continue on to say like, those who have money should be generous and always ready to help people. But this isn't saying that money itself is bad, but it's just when you have more of it, you tend to trust in it because it's there for you to rely on. You know, it's like when you have a crutch, it's very easy to use the crutch because it's right there. But it's saying don't use it. Don't trust it in that way. Use it, spend it, like bless people, all that stuff, but don't have that be what you're relying on and what you're putting your trust in, because it's very fickle and unreliable and it can give out at any moment. So yeah, that's basically that. Put your trust in God because he is faithful and his love endures forever, and he has everything in his hands, so he can give you all good things in this world. So trust in God. That's all I gotta say.